Donut Bag is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Your data is your business. Protect it with ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to the link listed in my Twitter profile. All right. So it's been a week since the Steelers lost to the Browns. Man, that hurts.
And
Man,
it's
it
very,
hurts.
very painful. Very, especially because you had some hope too. It's always hard when you have some hope and then your hopes just get stomped upon. Yeah, ripped out your heart.
It was
awful.
I greatly underestimated the Browns. I thought they would be a mess this year. I thought Jacoby Brissett was barely an NFL quarterback.
I was going to say I underestimated him. I mean, not that our defense was doing anything fantastic, but I mean, he looked much better than I expected him to. He looked better than Trubisky, who's our starting quarterback.
Which
is scary.
Yeah. Let's talk about the defense first. Basically, the Browns just ran down their throat. It's, I've heard it's because they're tired already. You know, they were on a short rest. They had, they're playing a ton of snaps. They've probably played more snaps than any other defense, and you just get tired out. Okay, but it's
valid.
Man, yeah, it's valid.
But you're right.
The basically, it's the same thing that's been going on this whole year. The offense is not holding up their end of the bargain.
Right. We talked about this last week. Same conversation.
Yeah. The offense actually did some things in the first half. It's like, oh my goodness, they actually look like an NFL offense. Oh my goodness. I said at the beginning of the game, it's like, oh my goodness, is this going to be a shootout? We all expected a low scoring game. We were going to get a shootout. Right. And then in the second half, the Steelers offense just died.
It was like 2 totally different teams.
Yeah.
It was 2 totally different teams. Back to the defense, I will say that Cleveland does have like the number 1 O-line in the NFL. So I think that they get a lot of flack from people about not being very good and about not having their starting quarterback and all of these things. But they've really got a group of solid players. You know what I mean? They have the best offensive line. They manhandled a lot of our defense. And then they have solid running backs, and they're able to get a run game established. And that's just something that we haven't been able to do. Haven't been able to defend it and haven't been able to get our own going.
If you could establish the run, you could basically do anything, because then you could fake the run and
you
pass.
Control the game.
You basically do. You control the game. Their defense wasn't that great, but it doesn't matter because your offense is on the field the whole time. So
and our offense didn't make it hard for their defense. Do you know what I mean? Their offense made it hard for our defense. They were there, they were there blocking. Their plays were not the same thing every time. Do you know what I mean? It was there. They had that run game was solid and established. They were throwing the middle of the field. They were throwing down the field. They were running. I mean, it wasn't so predictable where we feel so predictable sometimes.
It's predictable. The offense is just not working. And that is the main thing that everybody's talking about is it Mitch's fault? Is it Matt Canada's fault? Is it the receiver's fault? Because I mean, sometimes the ball comes right to them and they drop it.
Right. Did you see, I was going to ask you if you saw that Hines Ward was on a podcast and he said that he doesn't blame Canada. He blames the players. And he said, as a player, he didn't say it exactly. That's the headline of the story. But what he actually said was, as a player, he always asked himself if he'd done everything he could do as a player to make the team successful in that game. And if his answer was no, then he felt like he was part of the problem. And he said he feels like the players aren't owning their piece of it, that there's some dropped balls, that Trubisky hasn't been perfect. Do you know what I mean? Is you can't put it all on the play calling.
Yeah. But I mean, the main player do you want to blame is Mitch, because I keep hearing that the plays are there. There are open receivers. Mitch just isn't finding them. So when I hear stuff like that, then I want to say, okay, if Mitch can't figure it out, we've got another guy ready to go. Maybe it's time to put in Kenny. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just did a piece last week for Jason about how starting rookie quarterbacks tend to not fare well in the NFL historically, like a whole comparison of all these rookies that started year one and how they haven't fared as well as rookies that waited a year or two to come into play. And so I've never been one who's supported yet this whole season bringing Pickett in this soon. Do you know what I mean? I do want to see him play, and I'm a big fan, but I don't want to rush him. I've talked about that over and over again. But I will say at this point, I mean, what do we have to lose? Do you know what I mean? I think it would be worthwhile to at least bring him in for some kind of special plays, some like specifically designed plays just for Kenny Pickett. You bring him in and you run those and see how they go. And then that way the whole brunt of the offense isn't on his shoulders. Do you know what I mean? But fans have a chance to see how he performs. He has a chance to see how he performs in the team, you know, in a real game situation. Why not? They did that with was it Trey Lance that they did that with, where they had him come in for some special plays? Like, I think that we could, something like that maybe would work. It can't be worse. It can't be worse.
It can't be worse because a
loss is a loss.
It's horrible right now. It is horrible right now. You know, and the Jets are coming this week, and people think this is a slam dunk easy game. And I'm telling you what,
that's scary to me.
There is no slam dunk easy game with this team right now.
Not with this team. No, and the Jets are that scary team. They've got nothing to lose. Do you know what I mean? They've got nothing to lose. People are not expecting them to win for the most part. They've got nothing to lose. So, you know, you play teams like that and you get a little bit arrogant, and that's when you get, you know, caught off guard. And I hate when you hear these stories like about what's the word, like the dysfunction on the team. Do you know what I mean? Where people are blaming other people, and people are saying they're not happy and they're not getting enough, you know, plays designed for them or enough balls thrown their way or whatever it is. And you start to have that kind of infighting. I just think it brings so many problems to the team. You know what I mean? I hate to hear that kind of stuff is starting to go on a little bit. It's natural, but you hate to see it.
It's a unique situation because basically the situation now is, you know, they're being told, okay, hey guys, Mitch is our guy. Mitch is the guy. Right. But you know, in the back of your mind, and everyone knows, Mitch is just the guy temporarily.
For now.
For now. He's just the guy for
now. He's Mr. Right now.
So, you know, it's one thing for fans to say, put in Kenny. We're just fans.
Right. But they were going to do that anyways.
It makes you wonder if the players are saying that too, because, you know, you have situations where Mitch will throw it away or Mitch will throw it to the wrong person or something like that. And there are wide receivers that are wide open and you can't, you know, and then they put their hands up or they're mad or something like that.
Right.
It's like, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, hey, if this dude can't do it, and I'm doing my job, I'm open, and this dude can't get it done, and we know he's just a temporary guy anyway.
Right.
Put in the guy.
And we don't. And we don't obviously know for sure what's going on. Do you know what I mean? I know there's been tons of speculation. When you watch Mitch Trubisky play, like in the Browns game, he doesn't appear to be reading the field very well. Do you know what I mean? And that's concerning. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if he's been told to do something very specific about where the ball goes, you know what I mean? And not to deviate from that. I know there's been speculation about that, but it feels like he's not reading the field well. And that's concerning.
He's not reading the field well. And that's another thing is Matt Canada has been the offensive coordinator for a year and 3 games now. Yeah. And in that year and 3 games, this offense has basically been dog crap. And at some point, I don't know. I don't think it's just my thought. I think the offense is too complicated because the same thing happened with Ben, an 18-year Hall of Fame quarterback. He was doing the same thing. He was missing. Now he was also missing guys because the offensive line sucked, but still he was missing open receivers too. It's like, I don't
Well,
know.
everybody blamed Ben, and everybody said we weren't really running Canada's offense, and this was Ben's
Right.
offense, and Ben was in charge. And so I keep wondering, like, if that was true, why wasn't Canada up there drawing up like the most amazing plays in the whole world to use when he finally got his chance? But instead, what we see is like running Naj up the middle again. And so, but then you're right. Then you think about it and you reflect back on the kinds of misses that Ben was having. And sure, some of them were mobility issues, some of them were the O line, but some of them were also, like you said, not hitting open receivers.
Yeah.
And that does look very similar.
So the question is, how long do we keep this going like this? How long do we keep this? I thought that if Mitch had a bad game against Cleveland, that would have been it, because you have extra time, you have a week and a half.
Right.
But I've heard, well, it's gonna get rough because they have Buffalo and all these tough games coming up. So you don't want to put Kenny in there. Maybe you want to put him in at the bye. Like week 8 or 9 at the bye or something like that. Okay, whatever.
Well, I guess it depends on what your goal for the season at this point. Do you know what I mean? Is your goal for the season to just, I don't know, just make it a wash, like 8-8 or something and walk away like that? Or are we trying to do everything we can to win? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Then I wonder, do they obviously know stuff that as fans, when we're just fans, we don't know. Do you know what I mean? So is there some other reason why they're not putting Kenny Pickett in? Do they see something we don't see, or not see something we don't see? Do you know what I mean? Is it?
Well, one thing
I'd like to see something change. It would make me feel better, whether it was Canada or Pickett or something. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You see the O line getting better. The offensive line is so much better, and then to see still so many fails. They've improved every week.
We thought for sure it was going to be the same situation as last year's. Like, oh my God, the offensive line is so bad that it's going to, that you can't even run your offense because the offensive line is okay. And
it's okay.
What if it gets better? What if either continues to be okay or even gets better? That's amazing. That's great.
It's wonderful. It's what we hoped for all of last year. It's what we kept expecting to happen last season, and it wasn't happening. And now, for whatever reason, it is. And I mean, got to give a lot of credit to the new, offensive line coach and Myers, and maybe he's really making a difference with these guys. They look much better. That leaves very little room to blame people.
That's right. I wanted that offensive line coach launched into the sun. So that's it's the offensive line is looking better because they were learning like a whole new technique on how to block or something like that.
Good. Obviously they needed it. I mean, you know what I mean? But that's what you should be doing. But I'm a big proponent of change. So if something's not working, why are we still doing it? You know what I mean? If we saw I know we saw Mitch get better, between like game 2 and game 3, it looked like he was a little, well, I should say for the first half of game 3, but then we were right back to the same old crap at the second half of the game against Cleveland. And I don't really understand what the change was. Then they switched back to that kind of no huddle offense for that last drive they made and did much better, moved the ball like something like 75 yards in a couple of minutes. And I couldn't do it for the whole other 15. Like, what? I don't understand.
You know what that is? I think that kind of goes back to my point. The offense is too complicated. And when you do like a 2-minute offense, when you do like a hurry up kind of thing, I'm sure it's greatly simplified.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got to be like a limited number of plays. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Something like that makes a lot of sense, because we saw that same thing with Ben too. I mean, for a while, people had been saying, they look so much better when they were in that hurry up mode. Even with Ben, they did, and so you're right. Maybe that's it, and they need to look at simplifying it. I would love to know what's going on behind the scenes correctively. I think it would we're never going to know. That's not how the Steelers do things, but it would be nice to know something. It would make you feel a lot better if you felt like they were looking into changing something, but instead we feel like we come back to the next game and it's like everything's the same.
Another thing I heard is in training camp, Kenny always worked with the 2s or the 3s. He never worked with the starters. And even now, Kenny is basically just like the scout team quarterback. So he's not really, so, he's not going to be really ready, but I don't know. I
don't see why he couldn't be getting ready.
Yeah. No, we don't know what Tomlin's thinking. So,
nobody does ever.
We'll see.
And and I trust in the process a lot. I trust in the process a lot more than most fans, but this has been a really, really painful first 3 games. I mean, it isn't even like the one we won was like such a great solid win, and then we had some hiccups for 2 games. Do you know what I mean? We had no business even winning the game we won, and then we've lost twice. So it almost feels like you lost 3 times.
They could be 2-1. They could have beat New England. They could also be 0-3. It could easily be 0-3. That was a game that they almost threw away.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that was extremely fluky. So, what conversations are we having if they were 0-3? Holy crap.
We'd have to wonder, what would be happening in the organization if they were 0-3. People would be freaking out. But we should really be having the same freak out, because the only reason we won that game is stupid luck, is almost luck. Do you know what I mean? Missing a field goal and the blocked kick. I mean, that no taking away anything from Minka. What he did was amazing. Do you know what I mean? But those kinds of things so rarely come together, like that they happen. The universe doesn't line up like that very often. It's like a fluke. We can't put ourselves in that position.
Yeah. Stupid luck on a game where they forced 5 turnovers. They should have blown out that game. That game should have been like 34.
Killed them, annihilated them. Yes.
And they almost should have lost, and they won on a fluke. So very scary. To everyone saying Matt Canada is going to be fired during the season, there's a very low chance of that happening. The Steelers don't do that. They just
I'd almost put money on that in Vegas. That's not the Steeler way. They don't do it. I'd be very surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he was back next season. It would not surprise me in the slightest.
I don't even want to think about that.
I know, I don't either, but I seriously, it wouldn't surprise me. Nothing would surprise me, because it's just not how we do things. And
I mean, even if it was a complete failure, they would behind the scenes make some changes, or like quietly demote him or something like that. But they would just not fire him in the middle of the season.
It would be neat to, nice to see something like somebody else providing some, I don't know who that person is, do you know what I mean? But somebody else providing the additional support to help get this offense on track. I've heard people say Brian Flores, but I mean, I don't know who that person is, but somebody helped to get this offense on track.
The quarterback's coach, Mike Sullivan, I believe has some offensive coordinator experience. So maybe like if anything did happen where they said, screw this guy, they won't fire him, but they would quietly make Sullivan the offensive coordinator. And because they have actually done that before many years ago.
Yes.
So we'll see.
That's a possibility.
But this is a must-win game. They absolutely have to beat the Jets. And the Jets are a dumpster fire. It was
terrible.
They have like 3 good minutes of the whole season when they beat the Browns in that fluky miracle thing. Other than that, they are just hot garbage. So if you
because of that win, they appear to be a better team than they are. They're really terrible, and you're right. But it's worrisome because we tend to get overconfident in those kinds of games. It's like how we always let the Raiders beat us even when they shouldn't. You know what I mean? We get overly cocky about these teams that we should easily beat, and so it worries me.
And then you just got, obviously the Bills game's a loss. Obviously, that's a loss. But Tampa,
although the Bills are more beatable than I didn't think they would be. I mean, they
Yeah.
are more beatable than I expected to see. So
That game
was
against
interesting.
Miami was insane. That was absolutely
That was a
insanity.
crazy game. It was a crazy game. Yeah, I'm down here near Miami. The fans are going wild. People were going nuts. Yeah,
Goodness.
fins up everywhere you go. But good for Miami. Good on Miami. Do you know what I mean? They figured out some weaknesses. They managed to exploit them. They had a little bit of luck on their side and managed to pull out a huge win. And I think shows some other teams in the NFL how you could possibly beat the Bills when everybody was saying they were unbeatable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the Steelers go down to Miami on October 23rd.
Yep.
Which is a big advantage for the Dolphins because it's probably going to be really hot.
It's hot. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. And it's, it's obviously just being at home advantage anyways. And I'm telling you, they're riding high on this wave of winning right now. I mean, the whole team, the city, they'll have fans out there, which they usually don't have a ton of. Do you know what I mean? Fans are showing up for games for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff changes the complexion of a game greatly. So from what you think it was going to be in preseason when you're looking ahead at your schedule to what it's actually going to be when October rolls around are going to be two different things with that game.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. Then
I was all gung-ho to go because I thought it was going to be an easy win, but now I'm reconsidering whether I want to show up and all the Steelers stuff.
You know what? Just be a spy and wear some good Dolphins gear. Yeah,
there'll be a lot of Steelers fans. There's a ton of Steelers fans in Florida.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, tons.
I'm sure. But that game against Tampa, I think it's winnable now. Tampa ain't looking that great.
I do too. They look. Brady is so distracted by whatever's going on in his life. He is so distracted. He looks terrible. He looks like emaciated and sickly and is not playing like himself. And
folks, don't get in fights. When you're in a fight with your husband or wife, boy, that's just that just adds a lot of stress.
Sure does.
Yeah. Love the one you're
he's
with.
Made a lot of money. She didn't even care about whatever she lost for this season. She's like, to hell with that. I'm picking this fight now.
Oh yeah, she's basically like, yeah. I want you home.
Don't care.
I want you taking out the garbage. I want you taking the kids to school. I'm tired of taking the kids to school and waiting in that line at school. I'm tired of it.
She's like, I married you for better or for worse, but not for like 27 seasons in the NFL. Like, this has gone on too long now. This is not what I signed up for.
She looked at like, okay, the average NFL career is 5 years. Right. This guy's on 20. Come on.
Right. I mean, seriously, it's crazy because you have to think. I mean, as a person who's marrying somebody that plays a professional sport, there's obviously some benefits to that. Perks to having that lifestyle. And then you think, if they do really well, like Tom Brady did, then you think, all right, well, do this for a few years and then I'll have them all to myself. But his career feels like it'll never end. I mean,
you know how annoying it is to be the one that has to fold the laundry all the time and do the laundry all the time. She's not folding it.
She had folded laundry in a long, long time.
I'll bet she isn't even aware she has kids.
She probably didn't even have to give birth. I'm sure they were able to pay somebody else to take over that responsibility for her.
Probably.
Yeah. They got money.
But is if Tom Brady needs to, well, you're not near there, but Allison is. If Tommy needs to crash at someone's house,
right, he can sleep on Allison's couch.
Maybe he can sleep on Allison's couch.
Not that far. I've driven up to Allison's.
Speaking of Allison, we hope she's okay. We hope I hope everybody in Florida is okay.
Yeah,
it just sounds really, really bad right now with that hurricane. So hope
praying for those people over there on the West Coast in particular.
Yeah, very, very scary. But all right. Send her some cookies.
Yeah, I should. Once the mail resumes, we're not getting mail here right now, but once the mail resumes, I will. Just tell it's bad. Our streets are flooded, so the mail trucks can't get down them. So
put a box of cookies on that shark that's swimming around the streets.
My new delivery man.
Yeah, I'll probably do a better job than the post office, but anyway.
He would handle the packages better.
All right. Well, thanks
Thanks,
for
Joe.
coming on. Like I said,
Yeah.
stay safe, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. See you.